Okay, we're live. I want to thank everybody who's. We got two people that were sitting there waiting on us, going, "Ooh, when are they going to come?" So, hey, everybody watching live. We are live from ABN Army Surplus in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. This is the episode 250 of the Polite Society podcast. Want to thank you all for joining us both in store and for tuning in on Google Plus and YouTube and at politicsandguns.com/live. We're going to be doing things a little bit out of order tonight. First thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be interviewing Frank Fiamingo of the New Jersey Second Amendment Society. Then we're going to do our regular show, and then once we wrap up our regular show, we'll be interviewing Kathy Jackson. I'm not entirely sure whether she's going to be joining us live on YouTube or if we'll have to do it over Skype, and you'll have to download the podcast. I hope she can join us on YouTube here, but we'll see. So, as always, you can join in by hitting the Q&A app on the Google Plus stream. You can hit the Q&A button, ask us a question. We'll answer it live on air. Or you can comment on the YouTube channel or on the chat box at politicsandguns.com/live. Any one of the three, you can ask your questions. We'll get them answered on the air. Okay.
Oh, why don't I mumble something on the Polite Society podcast page? Like,
yes, please.
Going live?
To do that. I put up a post a couple 3 hours ago when I was getting ready to come down that we were going to be doing it live. I agree. Susan posted a thing to my timeline on Facebook. When I told you I was normal, I may have exaggerated slightly.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay. I'm going to get some test audio here. Frank, could I have you just say a few words quick?
I would like to say a few words quickly.
Okay, how about you, John?
Here I am. How does it sound?
You sound good, both of you. Rob?
It's a pleasure to be with you this evening.
Ooh. All right, everybody's levels are
not
great.
As much of a pleasure for Paul as it is for me, but I'm enjoying it.
And one check from my mic. Check 1, 2.
You sound the same to me as the others sound.
Yep, everything's good.
Now, way inside baseball, guys. There's another podcaster was complaining. Now he edits video for a living, but he's going, "Oh, it was so hard because the guys gained down their mic." And remember how we used to merge different saved Skype calls where we each send in our own voice? So he has to merge them and edit them.
That's That's no big deal.
Well, no, I understand, except he's complaining about the noise in each one, and he's doing it in GarageBand. And I go, well, I can't help you at all with GarageBand. I don't know anything about it. But in Audacity, it's here. So he puts it up on Dropbox, and I take the noise out, and he goes, oh, this really stinks because I really don't like Audacity in the Mac version or the Apple version, and now it looks like I have to go learn it and do it because I could take the noise out of his. So here's a pro who just didn't have quite the right tool to make the tweak he wanted. Yeah, suck it up, professional.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Here we are, a bunch of amateurs.
We really are. We really are.
All right, I think everything is ready on my end. Are we ready to rock out this interview?
Do the interview with Frank? Yes.
Lock and load.
Okay, I'm gonna come up, bring us back in 5. Hey, and welcome back for the first interview of tonight's show. Joining us tonight, of course, we have Frank Fiamingo. Frank is the president of the New Jersey Second Amendment Society, and we are proud to say that Frank is one of the sponsors of the show through the NJ2AS. Frank, man, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. I'm always glad to come on and speak with you guys.
So what we kind of wanted to talk about tonight is there was a big happening in New Jersey. There was a really ugly bill that would have how do I put this? It would have had a stronger limit on New Jersey's magazine restrictions. There's already, if I'm right now, there's already a 15-round limit on the on magazines, right?
That is correct.
And there's a bill that made it to Chris Christie's desk that would have dropped that to a 10-round limit, and Christie vetoed it, right?
That is correct. Yes, it was passed by both houses, the Assembly and the Senate. And it was pushed through despite all of the testimony that the pro-human rights people like the activists like myself and Scott Bach from the ANJRPC and so many of the other rights organizations in New Jersey, they heard us. I would say we were there. I would say the ratio was probably 480 to 10.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was just ridiculous. It was overwhelmingly pro-rights, yet they didn't listen to really a word that we said, and in both houses it quickly passed without any real effort, because the deal had already been made prior to the bills being sponsored. So, you know, then the next step, of course, was to send it on to Governor Christie. Now, there was a lot of conjecture about what Governor Christie would do. So all of our different organizations really put forth a Herculean effort. I'll give them credit where credit's due. I would say every rights activist group in New Jersey picked up the phone, called, they emailed, they sent faxes, they sent letters, they tried to visit, although Christie didn't see anyone. Our group, the NJ2AS, hand-delivered a stack of petitions that our members and supporters signed that Friday, the day that the bill was vetoed. How much of what, you know, the effort that we put forth had an effect on Christie's decision, I can't really say. I would say that he made the politically correct decision for himself, but he also happened to make the morally correct decision. The details, the devil's in the details, though, and I got to give credit where credit's due. Of course, to all of the people from your listening audience that called in and helped us, I cannot thank them enough. All the people from New Jersey, all the people from all over the country that, you know, faxed and wrote letters and so forth. I really do appreciate it more than I can say. But I think that he made the decision morally that makes sense. And if you look at his statement, that's where you're going to get a true indication of what his inner thoughts were. He states very, very succinctly and very accurately that the way to handle this type of a situation, this, you know, the trouble over, the concern over, for instance, the Newtown, Connecticut shootings and the Aurora shootings and so forth, is not to go after the responsible gun owner, but to first of all, enforce the laws against criminals that we already have on the books, you know, the laws against violent criminals, and treat the mentally ill. So this is where we need to concentrate our efforts. Well, I mean, our opponents keep saying that we have to take a common sense approach to gun violence. Well, I don't know makes more common sense than to enforce laws against the criminals and treat the mentally ill. So all in all, I think it was a joint effort of all the people that really made the calls and helped us out, and Governor Christie doing the right thing. I think that's the answer.
Okay, cool. Rob, John, you got anything for Frank?
Well, Frank, John, I'll jump in. I have something. You just mentioned that the politicians are blaming gun owners for the violence in society. Are we a convenient scapegoat? Is it easier? Does it play better in the press? Why do you think they're going there?
Well, because it's much easier. Let's look at it this way. If you're a pandering politician like Lou Greenwald, for instance, who is the assemblyman who sponsored the bill in the assembly, what you do is you sponsor a bill that does absolutely nothing to reduce gun violence, but smells right. So if you tell people, well, oh, it's, you know, this crazy person or that criminal or this individual walked into such and such a place with a 30-round magazine and shot up a bunch of people, and what if they only had 10? So let's limit the magazine capacity to 10 rounds. What he doesn't say, however, and this is where the dishonesty comes in, is that those people are not going to pay attention to the law. Yep. So, you know, whereas they're going to impose this law, the law-abiding people will obey it, and the crazy person and the criminal are going to do as they please. So it's low-hanging fruit. It's easy to get something like that passed, and that's you know, I call it political pandering. Now, Christie took it one step further, and he really looked at it thoroughly and said, how does that really reduce gun violence? And, you know, using all his resources, they couldn't find an answer. So he did the right thing. Again, I have to give him credit.
You know, go to Facebook.
Now, the reason I say politically it's the right decision is because, again, what plays
right on the
in
stat page.
What plays here in New Jersey won't play very well across the rest of the nation. And I think that, you know, if he does have national political aspirations, it's good that he made this decision.
Now, as soon as it comes up, you got to mute.
Paul, you're coming right through the mic.
I don't know if he heard you. Paul?
Yeah, I'm back now. I'm sorry.
Just to let you know, you were coming through the mic while I was talking.
I'm sorry. We'll go ahead and edit, and I'm going to pod my light down when you see me wave my hand. Again, I'll be off mic. I'm sorry.
You're breaking up, too. Badly.
You're way overmodulated.
So anyway, in conclusion, you know, just to answer your question.
You're muted there, right? Cool.
Okay.
Paul, you're still coming through. It's really, really loud. Maybe you've got it all the way up when you think it's all the way down. Test it now, would you?
Okay, we should be good now.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's
okay. When I pod down in here, you guys aren't. How do I put this? What gets recorded, I podded myself down. I forgot to pod what feeds out to you guys.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
I couldn't hear me because
you were podded down. You're listening to the recording.
Right. Right.
Okay. But you were coming through to us. Okay, Frank,
okay. No.
I'll
pod myself down here again. I'm sorry.
Frank, you were talking about what you thought the Governor Christie's motivations were.
Yeah, and I would say that you know, as an astute politician, he has to take into consideration what's going on across the nation, not just in New Jersey, if he indeed has national political aspirations. So it would make sense for him to look at this, you know, and say, how does this decision affect my further political aspirations? So I don't think there's anything wrong with that, though. Don't we all do what we think is best for our own careers and our own future? So that doesn't concern me if it's the moral thing to do. Now, when someone panders, knowing full well, like in my opinion, Lou Greenwald did when he introduced this bill in the first place. When somebody panders and there's no real moral standing behind it, Because he has to know. I met with him about a couple of years ago, and we sat down at his table, and I asked him the question, well, why 10 rounds? Why are you going for 10 rounds? Where'd you come up with that number? Basically, he said, seems about right. Yeah. So
more than 8, less than 50, 10 sounds like a good number.
But here's the thing. So, and you know what? There was an article in the New York Times today about how the parents of the Sandy Hook children that were killed are taking the gloves off now that Christie made this decision. And I had quite a lot to say about that, and I actually sent a letter to the editor to the New York Times, but I also posted on Facebook. Well, let's look at it. Let's look at it for just a second. Their solution, which would be to limit the magazines to 10 rounds, basically means that they're willing to sacrifice the first 10 children. And that would be acceptable to them. Whereas Governor Christie's approach is to say, let's deal with the situation before it happens, which is let's punish criminals, keep them incarcerated, and let's deal with the mentally, the mentally ill.
Right.
So, which is the more common sense? Which is the more moral approach?
Right.
I ask you. I mean, I think it's clear.
I think it's a no-brainer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We had an event recently in California. 3 thugs went into a L.A. area taco shop. They were all armed. The taco shop owner had a revolver. He was out-armed, outgunned. You know, he had 2 per customer, and that wasn't enough, and he got killed.
Yeah. And that's the thing that we have brought forward since the beginning of this whole fiasco, is that, see, the Sandy Hook parents, like to make this big deal, and Greenwald says the same thing. You don't need more than 10 rounds to kill a deer. Well, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life, because first of all, in New Jersey in particular, you can't hunt with a rifle in New Jersey. And you can't hunt with a handgun in New Jersey. You can only hunt with a muzzle loader and a shotgun. So this nonsense about, needing 10 rounds or blah, 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 blah is just bullcrap, if I can say that. The real purpose for a free individual to have more than 10 rounds or unlimited rounds, quite honestly, in their magazine is to protect their home, their life, and their family when there are multiple assailants who break into their home at 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, is that something that happens every day? No. And it's a rare occurrence. But if I am preparing myself to be able to effectively defend my home, in the event that something like that happens, I do not want to be handicapped. And
right.
That's what this bill does. It handicaps me vis-a-vis the criminal. Where's the fairness? Where's the morality in that? But the Sandy Hook parents do not understand that, and I've taken the task for that. So.
I suspect some of them understand it, but those aren't the ones that were chosen to be trotted in front of the legislature. And
that's true too. Really, there's only a few of the Sandy Hook parents that are actually, involved in this. So,
if I could, one of the benefits we have of being a live show is we get live feedback, and on the Facebook site, Tony Simon commented, "I can't get to YouTube right now, but I met Frank Fiamingo while testifying in Trenton. I feel a great sense of relief that Governor Christie signed the veto. Thank you, Frank, for the hard work."
Thank you, Tony, for showing up. I mean, you were there along with, so many of our comrades, our members, our supporters. I thank you.
So, well, we're coming up on the segment break here. Before we go, I know there's more going on in New Jersey than just Christie's veto. What's going on with the NJ2AS, man?
I think seriously at this point, the NJ2AS is still growing, and we're trying to change a few things about how we're organized. Primarily, we're looking at a network of area coordinators that I think will make us a much more effective, cohesive organization. That will give us a lot more strength. But I'm going to give something away tonight that we've been kind of saving because I think this is a good timing. We have to make a point. We have to make a very serious point with the New Jersey legislature. And the way to do it is we're going to run a serious recall effort against Steve Sweeney, who is the Senate president. We're going to do a Colorado-style recall. We've got, as a matter of fact, the people from Colorado involved in our project. They're helping us. They're giving us guidance and giving us some direction in terms of how it worked for them. What are some of the things that we need to do? How to get the proper public relations, and how to get people intrigued and activated and involved. So I think that if we can even come close, we will have made our point.
So
if he cuts his campaign chest in half, it would still be a useful exercise.
I think so. I believe whatever it is that we can do to set him back is a good thing. Because, but why? Because as Senate President, he'll not only did he stab us in the back by changing his direction after telling us no, he was for the right to keep and bear arms and blah 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 blah, and then he turned around and allowed this stuff to go through.
That was before the election.
That's correct. That's correct. Before he was, when he was candidate Sweeney running for his Senate seat, his state Senate seat, then he was for the right to keep and bear arms. As soon as he was reelected, then all of a sudden everything changed, and he looked into the eyes of the Sandy Hook parents, and it touched his heart, and it changed his,
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that candidate for governor Sweeney is pandering to the people in New Jersey who vote Democrat, vote for anti-gun Democrats. So.
Wow. Yeah. Let's if we could, then if they want to get more information on that recall effort, they can stop by nj2as.com, and then you also have a Facebook site for fans of NJ2AS.
We do. I gotta admit something. I made a mistake with our Facebook site. I made it a closed site temporarily for a reason. Now Facebook won't let me change it back.
Oh.
I don't quite understand that. So I have to work on a solution to that, and it may be just that I'll have to set up a way for people to ask to be invited in, and then we'll do it that way. But the other thing is, there's another site that it's not our site, but I recommend that people go visit it. It's recallsweeney.com, and I think that people should go and look at that. That's where we're going to give most of the information about the recall effort.
Very cool. Well, we are coming up on break here, so we do need to step aside. But thank you again, Frank, for joining us. And if you could hang on, I want to talk to you in the break. So hang on, everybody. We'll be right back right after this. And we're clear.
Cool.
Let me save this, and then Frank, I'm thinking we may want to re-record your promo if you're going to be pushing a recall Sweeney.
Mm-hmm.
What we may want to do is I'll maybe get together. We can get a script set up, and I'd like to change the ad we run for you on every episode, maybe while that's up, and run a special ad for NJ2AS about the recall effort.
Okay, that sounds good.
So
yeah, that sounds great.
I could maybe lean on one of the two semi-professional writers I have on staff here to help me out with that.
That would be great. That'd be great, because I got to tell you, that will be our single biggest accomplishment. If we can even threaten him a bit, it will change. I think it will fundamentally change the way that these politicians operate, because they need to fear us, and right now they don't. So hopefully we can give them a reason to.
Yeah. So I'll get with Rob and with John here in the next day or so. I'll try to get something written up, or kind of lean on them to see if maybe they'll write something up, and we'll change out the ad we normally run for you and record a special recall Sweeney. But we'll make sure that we're still plugging the NJ2AS, but get the recall Sweeney info in there.
Absolutely, that's great. And I'll put a link to the recallsweeney.com site right on our page as well. And you know,
I just tweeted it.
terrific. Hey, got to do what we got to do.
Yeah.
Got to get the word out. It's you know, things have to change in New Jersey because I know you guys got to move on, but just real quickly, what the legislature in New Jersey doesn't understand is we're really their best friend, and if they would just listen to us, you know, a lot of damage could be avoided. But the way that they work, they're putting us in our back against the wall. You know what happens when people, you know, have no place to go. But so I'm hoping that we can convince them before it's too late that we're just not going to comply with them anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Do they really want to turn New Jersey into Connecticut and New York? Is that?
Well, they do. Yes, they do. That's the answer. They do.
I
and
think,
not just. Yeah.
I think you could take it one step further, and do they really want to turn New Jersey into what's a good? Because you know, New York, Connecticut. I think they want to go farther than that. I think they want to go more towards like Ukraine.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I think that they want to have their own little socialist experiment, and I don't think I'm over. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that. I think they want to have their socialist experiment here in New Jersey and see if they can make it spread. Why this? The reason why New Jersey is a really good breeding ground for this crap is that we've got the way our you know that we're the most densely populated state in the nation. What makes it worse is the most densely populated areas within New Jersey are the inner cities. So you've got the Newarks, the Camdens, the Elizabeths, and so forth that are populated primarily by people who are on some sort of assistance. So they can get the votes they need to do virtually anything that they want, as long as they keep handing out the goodies.
The goodies.
But see, and so that's why when I hear this crap about the millionaire tax and they want to tax the rich and they want to tax the rich, well, guess what, you stupid idiots? Don't you understand that people who are wealthy have the means to uproot and go somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's already been determined that the top, I don't know, I think it was the top 20 taxpayers, the richest taxpayers, are paying like 80% of all the taxes.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
You didn't say 20%. You said the top 20 individuals?
Top 20 individual taxpayers are supporting 80, are paying 80% of the taxes. What do they think is going to happen when these people say, hey, I've had enough. I'll just go across the river into Pennsylvania. Then who's going to pay all those goodies? Now, when they stop paying those goodies, you know what's going to happen.
Well, then there's going to be a new person in the top 20 that isn't quite as rich.
Yeah, and the taxes aren't going to be there to support the largesse at the taxpayer expense, and there's going to be a problem. So, all right, well, that was a deal. So I'm hoping that if we can get their attention long enough so that they will listen to some of what we have to say, then maybe we can avoid that kind of a really nasty outcome.
All right.
Hey, guys, have a great show.
You bet.
Thanks so much, Frank.
Thanks very much for inviting me. I always appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
I will.
And guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend, too. And again, one more time, Paul, I really am sorry to hear about your pal. That's just, it's an awful thing.
It's part of life, man.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah.
And then I'll have an email to you in the next day or two with the proposed script.
Sure. Okay. And if there's anything else you need me to do, whatever, I'm always at your disposal.
And unless you want to make a trip to South Dakota so I can take you out to dinner sometime.
You know what? I got to get out. There's so much of this country I have not seen. So I've been talking to my wife about that. You may just find us on your doorstep one day. But I'll let you know so I'll know that you're home.
I've got a new position within what I'm doing is I drive Monday through Friday now, so if you hit South Dakota on a weekend, I'll be offended if you don't let me know the truth.
Excellent. Okay, well, you don't worry about that. I would let you know.
All righty, man.
All right, guys. Have fun.
Take care.
Thanks, Frank.
See you, buddy.
And how do I exit? There we go.
Okay. Oh, and I missed the chat messages. What do we got? Oh,
Nobody on YouTube.
okay. No, it was the chat inside here. It was you guys telling me, "Hey, you moron."
Well, we didn't. We were much nicer.
Okay,
On the other hand, he
and
didn't
we
listen
have
to
a
us,
couple-
did he, John?
We have a couple messages on the Q&A. We haven't had any Q&A questions in a long time. KT Pill says, "Greetings, brothers." Just a second here. I couldn't barely hear you. Repeat that.
There's a guy on the live page named Russ.
Rob,
Apparently, the armored porcupine.
Rob, did you talk to Russ Armored Porcupine about coming on the show?
No.
He's shaking his head no.
Oh, there was something he said to me
Well, he's on the live page wanting to know.
a week ago, and I said, hey, write that up. Just, sketch out your ideas, and I think that's good enough. Why don't you bring it on the show and we'll talk about it? But I didn't say, oh, this article today. No, that was a week ago, I think.
Okay.
He's on the live page.
He's on the live page right now wanting to know. So I would guess just say, I don't know if you can hear me right now, but so what would you say, Rob? Just have him write something up? But our show tonight is full.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. So we would just have you, man, just write something up and send it in, but we can't. I'll talk to him on the phone.
Okay. There we go. And then KT Phil says, "How do I invite people? I have some people that might answer some of your questions." Huh. Don't know what you're referring to, KT Phil, but I would say maybe the best thing for you to do would be to just share the YouTube link or the Google Plus link. All right, and that's cool. We haven't got any Q&A questions in several weeks. So, all right, we ready to lay down this? Gary, are you ready to do the intro?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, can we get Rachel written out of it?
Let's see, Paul, John, Frank, Gary, Rob. So
Here.
That was that.
I got it.
Oh, wow, that fish. Gary somehow got unmuted. I muted him from my end.
Okay, I just dumped Rachel out of the intro.
Oh, hang on. Let me pod you up again. Are we off or on? There we go.
I thought we were on. Okay, we're on. So you don't want me to touch this mute over here then at all, I take it, because that's the one that just caused the jam.
Yeah, I got you muted over here. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay. But I want to mute me. Where do I go to mute me? This one?
That one right there.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. But when I unmuted it, that's when you got your testing 1, 2, 3.
Don't do it.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Seriously, man, don't mess with that.
You told me to touch. You just told me to did that one.
No, that's. I did it from my over here.
Yeah. So
I can mute you from here.
Okay. So I can't mute myself now?
Once you're muted, stay that way, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. I don't understand. It's showing me muted now, but you can hear me.
Yeah, because you're coming through these. You're not coming through. If you unmute,
Yeah.
then this microphone tries kicking it through, comes through the speaker over there, creates the feedback.
Okay, how do I mute this?
Right.
When I'm ready to go. Mute. That's the only mute that's on this unit now.
Right.
This doesn't matter at all.
As
Computer screen.
Right. You don't have to worry about muting or unmuting yourself on the computer screen.
Okay.
Because I can mute you from, or during the midweek show, Rob can mute you or whatever. But well, if on the midweek show, if Rob mutes you, you're just muted. When I'm sitting here, the mute you have to worry about is that switch on your microphone.
Okay.
Okay. I got to get this adjusted so I can see.
Okay. All right. Talk to you later. I'll close up. All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, are we ready to record the open?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going back for food, then you change your mind again. All right.
Coming back in 5. Hi, and welcome to Polite Society Podcast, recorded live Saturday, July 5th, 2014. I'm Paul Lathrop.
I'm John Richardson, and we'll talk with author and instructor Kathy Jackson, as well as Frank Fiamingo of the New Jersey Second Amendment Society.
And I'm Gary Harpster, and we will have our weekly self-defense news.
I'm Rob Morris, and we have our weekly stories of defensive gun use. So, climb aboard.
Strap in.
Hang on.
And hang on.
Episode 250 of the Polite Society Podcast starts right now.
Shoot the author.
Where's Rachel? Rachel's not joining us tonight. I think she's doing something shooting.
She getting all tactical?
All right.
Tactical. Is Kathy going to be on live, or you got that recorded?
No, it's gonna be live. And by the way, guys, we've got to wrap up in 57 minutes because I do believe I have to close this up and call her on Skype on her cell phone. So, because I haven't heard from her.
Or she's
Okay.
not going to be live on the show?
Yeah, she's gonna be live on the show, just not live on YouTube.
YouTube is the show.
No, it's not. YouTube is 1/200th of the show.
Get Kathy on and see her smiling face.
All right. Ready to do the catch-up segment?
Sure.
I'm going to go last because it's going to be tough.
Let me pull us back in. Gary, do you have anything you want to say in a catch-up segment?
No.
Do you want to do
Okay.
a live promo tonight?
Sure.
Okay.
I have a rant, but I will make that for another night, though.
Okay.
Looks like a busy schedule, like you said.
Okay, I'll pull us back in 5. Hi, and welcome back. This is the catch-up segment of the Polite Society Podcast. And it's been a quiet couple of days. For the 4th of July, I did some dry practice with some guests in my SIRT pistol, as well as dry practice with a handgun. The beginners really like the SIRT pistol, and it's a step above a party toy at some gatherings. How about you, John?
Well, like you, we had friends in from out of town, actually family who were here from Missouri. We all enjoyed the various displays of fireworks. I think we saw 2 or 3 of them last night. They were also kind enough to bring me a T-shirt from the Missouri University of Science and Technology, where my nephew was thinking of attending in engineering. Great T-shirt. It says, "My mascot carries a gun" on the front. And on the back it says, "Does yours?" Because their school mascot it used to be Missouri School of Mines. So their mascot is an old miner carrying a 6-gun on his hip and a slide rule over his shoulder,
I'm
a pick on his other side of his belt. So yeah, it's a great T-shirt.
I like it.
Yeah, very cool. So, Gary, and then Gary, since the midweek show, anything been going on with you, man? Or
No, we were getting ready for the 4th because we do a little something special on the 4th, which is Lenox, South Dakota. For
Mhm.
those that live up here in the Midwest, has a huge parade.
Mhm.
It is singularly, I think, the largest parade in the state of South Dakota. If there's one larger, I have not yet heard of it. Little town of 2,100 people swells to a town of about 40,000 people for 4 hours.
Wow.
Oh my!
Yeah, I don't know why it's gotten so popular over the years, but we took Gomer down there. We took our Deuce and a Half down there, and it is 2 miles and 2 hours of line with little kids and old soldiers, and that was the start for our 4th of July. And whole staff goes down. We love it so much, all waving, handing out candy, that kind of thing. So, had a very nice 4th of July. I hope everybody else did too.
cool. My week, and I only come on, of course, on the weekends anymore. Every once in a very great long while, I will come into a Wednesday show. But even though technically I could have this week, I was stopped. There was no way I was going to be able to come on the Wednesday show. And for our listeners, I'm going to ask you to bear with me on this one. We brought up our dog, Dakota, several times on the show, and she gets mentioned almost every episode that I'm on recently. There's, as regular listeners know, that she's had some health challenges, and on Tuesday of this week she left us. July 1st, on our little dog, our little dog, 125 pounds. She was born, we never really knew, but she was born somewhere between New Year's Eve and New Year's Day on 2000. And on Tuesday, exactly 14 and a half years that she was around, she moved on. It seems to me that one of the cruel tricks that is played on us by God or Mother Nature, or whomever you believe in, is that human beings, we get to be around here about 75 years, and those members of our family that have 4 legs, they only get about a fifth of that. Came home this morning. I've been on the road. I actually didn't get home until Saturday morning. And we got a call from the veterinarian's office saying that her ashes were back. We had her cremated, and today we brought her home. Those that do have a 4-legged family member know that Susan and I are going through a lot of pain right now. And Dakota came to us. She was 6 months old. She'd had a previous owner, and that owner, we believe, abused her. And it took a lot of work for her to trust men. She never had a problem with kids, and boys or girls, but grown men she had a problem with. And after a ton of love and a lot of work, she eventually came to trust me, and towards the last several years, she didn't have a problem with anybody. She would trust women quicker than men, but she didn't have a trust issue anymore. She would trust everybody. Like any canine family member, Dakota took it on herself to be our family's guardian, confidant, and occasionally she was the troublemaker of the family. She gave us a ton, and all she ever wanted or expected in return was our love and attention. We gave her a lot of both. She was our little puppy, our baby girl. If you ever want to know what unconditional love is, just get yourself a pet like our little baby girl. Even, unconditional love for her, no matter what was going on. If you were having a bad day, if she was having a bad day, no matter what was going on, Susan and I were the focus of her existence. A couple things, and I'll wrap up, I promise. I posted on Tuesday that we lost Dakota, and I said something to the effect that if I'd earned a spot in heaven and our baby girl wasn't there, I'd move along to find her. Because if she wasn't good enough to go to heaven, then I definitely had no place there. I want to thank you to everybody who replied with kind words. And there are two that I would like to bring up specifically. First of all, Ben Cook said, and this is an exact quote, "If my animal friends are not in heaven, I'll be sure to leave a trail to where I can find them. So you can find us all there." Second, there were several references to a poem called The Rainbow Bridge. And I'd like to ask you all to indulge me while I try to make it through this. Just this side of heaven is a place called Rainbow Bridge. When an animal dies, it has been especially close to someone here. That pet goes to Rainbow Bridge. There are meadows and hills for all our special friends where they can run and play together. There's plenty of food, water, and sunshine, and our friends are warm and comfortable. All the animals who had been ill and old are restored to health and vigor, and those who are hurt or maimed are made strong and whole again, just as we remember them in our dreams of days and times gone by. The animals are happy and content, except for one small thing. They miss someone very special to them, who they had to be left behind. They all run and play together, but when the day comes when one suddenly stops and looks into the distance, her eyes are bright and intent, her eager body quivers. Suddenly she begins to run from the group, flying over the green grass, her legs carrying her faster and faster. You've been spotted. When you and your special friend finally meet, you cling together in joyous reunion, never to be parted again. The happy kisses rain upon your face. Your hands again caress the beloved head, and you look once more into the trusting eyes of your pet, so long gone from your life, but never absent from your heart. Then you cross the Rainbow Bridge together. I want to thank you folks. I had never heard that poem before. And I'd had several people comment from that poem, and I want to thank each of them that does that. So now that I've totally screwed everybody up, I'm going to go ahead and throw it a break. I'm going to dry my eyes, and we'll be back with news right after this. Wow.
Give him a towel.
Been there, done that, Paul. More than once.
Oh, it does just suck. I mean,
yeah.
I mean it when I say it's just not fair that we get 75 years. They get maybe 15, 20. 20 at the extreme outside. Okay. Miguel Gonzalez. Just a second here. You're not going to be recorded, Susan, so I'm just going to pod that mic up. Could you, so it's easier for me?
Miguel says that.
You're still not coming through. Just a second. There you go.
Miguel commented on the live page that there's an old episode of the old Twilight series. It's called The Hunt. It's about a dog and his owner in search of heaven. That you should maybe watch it.
Were you guys able to hear that?
Yeah.
I did.
I'm going to pod you back down again, sweetheart. I have a real special favor to ask. Could you guys write me out of the first three stories, and I will be back in a minute?
Sure.
Okay,
John,
John will just leapfrog.
Yeah.
and I got to make sure this is saved. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, because that's good, because I want to comment on Joe Morrissey.
Okay.
All right, you guys are just going to leapfrog?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to comment in on any of them?
Comments are
All right.
always welcome.
All right, I'm going to go. John, you want to
I'll bring us back.
give me a 5 count or give me a 5-second warning? I'll start it, and then I'm going to pod myself down.
Okay. In 5. Hi, and welcome back to the Polite Society podcast news segment. Our first story comes from Chicago, where gun rights advocates won another victory in Chicago. A judge approved almost $1 million in legal fees that the city must pay to attorneys who challenged Chicago's gun store ban. The original lawsuit was filed in 2010 by an Illinois offshoot of the National Shooting Sports Foundation. That battle isn't over. Richard Pearson, executive director of the Illinois State Rifle Association, anticipates a legal challenge to the city's new rules regulating gun stores out of 99.5% of the city. He said, "The ordinance is prohibitive. If you look at the hidden cost of opening a gun store, I don't know how a person can make a living selling firearms in the city of Chicago."
And if you know much about politicians, that's not an accident.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, there was another victory for the right to choose armed self-defense. A Florida appellate court ruled that college and university campuses must allow students to store firearms in their cars on campus. Now think about it for a minute. You can't carry in class, you can't carry in football games, but this allows adult students to attend school and remain armed on their way to and from. That way they might be armed if they have to work those late night jobs that are a favorite of working college students. Contrary to the public claims of school administrators, negligent discharges remain extremely rare. This is another small step towards self-protection in Florida.
We had the same situation here in North Carolina when we passed it in 2013 that if you had a concealed carry permit, you could store your firearm in a locked car on a school campus.
Mm-hmm.
And the local police or the university police chiefs were like going, "But your car will get broken into." Well, maybe not if you're doing your job, they won't. But that's another story.
So has there been gunpowder flowing in the streets from all the car break-ins in North Carolina?
No.
No, I didn't. All right. It was a setup.
Yeah. Well, in Kansas, an open carry bill went into effect this past Tuesday. It's now legal to openly carry a gun in a holster, in your hand, or carry a rifle on a sling. Captain Rance Quinn of the Kansas City Police Department said they will still respond to calls of a man with a gun, but the department will change how they handle the encounter. Quote, "How are you doing today? I see that you are exercising your right to bear firearms. Is there anything I can do for you today?"
Why, yes, officer. May I buy you a cup of coffee and we can talk about your department sponsoring more firearms training for the general public?
And I would add in, "I'll get you a donut too."
I think it actually should stop the nuisance phone calls.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of people seeking attention, the attention-seeking anti-gun Virginia state delegate Joe Morrissey once carried an AK-47 onto the Virginia State House floor. Now he faces criminal charges for having sex with a 17-year-old receptionist in his office. A special grand jury charged the Virginia politician with supervisory indecent liberties with a minor, electronic solicitation of a minor, possession of child pornography, distribution of child pornography, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
Oh my. Even though he was just following Bill Clinton's example there, I think Monica was of age.
Ah, well, okay.
But however, this is the same Joe Morrissey who, as state's attorney or district attorney for Richmond, Virginia, was disbarred for, among other things, fistfights in the courtroom. You know, why is it that anti-gun activists are so violent? And I guess they project their propensity to violence on the rest of us.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But he got elected. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, he was practicing law out of the country for a while.
Oh.
And he came back.
Okay.
Well, here's a good example from law enforcement, and from a small police department at that. Police Chief Michael Combs found out there were no firearms safety courses offered in the county. So he decided to offer his own course. The department will host a classroom and firing session at the Goodwill Fire Company on July 19th. Pennsylvania is a shall-issue state, and there are no training requirement for ownership or a carry license. I think the chief's decision is a good one and will help. I mean, any and all training is good and will make his citizens in his town safer.
Well, thank you, Chief Combs. Now, some gun-grabbing activist groups tell you that real women want to be helpless. That's not what we say on this podcast. I'll remind you that the number of women who own guns has been rising rapidly for the last several years. In fact, the percentage of women who own a gun nearly doubled from 2005 to 2011. Those guns are not gathering dust. Far from it. A growing number of women are at the range and taking classes. Women are now on the cutting edge of self-defense. I offer as examples our frequent guest Kathy Jackson and our own co-host Rachel Malone. If you're interested in women's activism in the shooting sports, there's a list of women's gun groups on my blog site, everytownforgunsafety.wordpress.com.
Kathy, of course, you hear her lately every episode, but at least every weekend episode. And what was the figure I seen that 40% of the new gun purchases are women now?
Mm-hmm.
So, and man, those of them that are taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, and are taking training, and we'll be talking to Kathy about that in her interview segment tonight. I think that's where we're growing the fastest. I think that's where we're going to grow the most is through the women.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're every bit as serious, if not more so, than a lot of men.
And my wife, who's walking back up from the front of the store, walks by with the old flexing the muscles and You're missing something if you don't watch us on YouTube.
Well, our next story comes from the state of Mississippi, and we're not sure whether it was on purpose or an accident. On July 1st, a poorly written law in Mississippi exempted disabled military veterans from paying some hunting and registration fees. That's good. However, the law also required veterans submit to a disability review by the VA. That's not good. Many veterans will decline that opportunity, thank you. The bill also required non-veterans to submit to a mental health exam at the will of Mississippi State Police. It isn't clear how the bill will be implemented by law enforcement. Gun owners need a strong state organization that will take a critical look at this legislation. It may have actually taken Mississippi back to may issue status, probably in violation of their own constitution.
That sounds like a bad thing. And I didn't think there. Now this says hunting and registration. I didn't think Mississippi had registration. Am I wrong there?
I don't think they do.
This is for like a deer tag.
Okay. Wow. Well, this probably wasn't the answer they were looking for. The MSNBC network conducted a poll, and I love this because I popped it up on our Facebook site asking, do you think people should be allowed to carry guns in public? 84,000 people answers. 88% shows yes, the Second Amendment guarantees the right to carry in public. Another 4% shows only for self-defense, and to which my comment there is duh. And the 8% said carrying as a gun is too dangerous.
I didn't even realize MSNBC had that many viewers.
84,000. Well, yeah, you're probably. I think what may have helped them is their poll went viral.
Yeah.
Now I will say that they have another poll, whether or not Target was right to do what they do. They did. We had been winning that poll. We're not right now.
Well, and my problem with that poll about Target is they didn't have the correct answer in there. The correct answer is I very much support their ability to make that decision for their store, and I will no longer spend money for that with them. That's what I would choose, but that answer or anything even close to that wasn't there.
Yeah. Well, Georgia now has really Georgia's gun laws have really gotten much better just recently. And because of these changes, churches in Georgia now have an opt-in or an opt-out policy towards concealed carry while at church. An Episcopal bishop in Georgia said he will forbid concealed carry in the church. Likewise, I believe the Archbishop of Atlanta said that for the Catholic Church. Other congregations have accepted concealed carry. Pastor Tom Rush said, quote, "Quite frankly, we may have some people in our church that are uncomfortable with the idea. You know, I grew up in a day where we left the sanctuary doors open so people could come in at any time and pray. Unfortunately, we don't live in those times anymore." Unquote. You know, this is part of a larger social trend of our culture, splitting into isolated tribes. Honest gun owners have had to choose which stores to enter based on the store's no guns policy, and now it seems like that decision includes churches as well.
John, I don't think that issue's confined to Georgia. Georgia's the latest example, perhaps. I live in California, and last year a nearby church took up an anti-self-defense petition, and it presented it to a local city council. Now, the church's public statements sounded inclusive, but their claims were wildly inaccurate, and I asked to speak with the church committee that put the petition together. They ignored me and never returned my calls. I think some churches may be playing a bit of political posturing here, and I wonder if I were carrying and walked into an Episcopal or Catholic church in Georgia where it said it was forbidden, is there a magnetometer at the door? Are they going to wand me? Now, if I were asked to leave, I'd leave whether I were carrying or not. But what I don't know is if their request has the force of law.
And that I don't know either.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you for California. The only state I can tell you for sure is South Dakota. But, you know, and I guess that does say, I got to be honest, I while I am a spiritual person, I am a Christian, I am not a churchgoer. But, when I was growing up, yeah, the church was open. If you wanted to go and pray, you went to go and pray. I think if they were to allow concealed carry, it might tend to go that way again.
I had thought about that. The reason you close your doors is because you made so many of us helpless, and we became victims in your churches. I've forgotten the guy's. Is it Mark Chin who has the book Evil Invade Sanctuary? His last name's Chin. I've forgotten his first name. Churches
I've never heard of the book, so.
Churches are a frequent victim of crime.
And part of it may be that I don't know. It could. We would have to talk to somebody from the church or from a church. But part of the reason they closed down their sanctuaries may be that there's theft problems.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's sad when a society gets to that point,
Carl Chin was his name.
I don't know of any churches anywhere. Are there still churches that have their doors open? When they're not having a service, or there's somebody there, or like for Catholics for confession or something?
When I was growing up, I grew up in a little itty bitty tiny town, Garrettson, north of town here, and yeah, the church was never locked.
Oh well, even when I grew up in Minneapolis, it never was. But it's years since I can remember a church actually being open in today's day and age, and I mean years and years, because there been times when I've been out on assignment somewhere. Hurricane Sandy is a good example. I was on Long Island. It was like Thursday night, and I don't know why, but it struck me as a thought to go pray somewhere. And I'll be darned, I couldn't find any churches open.
The Catholic Church my wife attends has perpetual adoration, so there may be only one or two people on the property, but in some cases they've carried that on for years at a stretch.
Well, Rob, I think we got one more story. I think that's yours, right?
I think so. It's a little bit of California news. We're teetering on a knife edge here. In California, Assembly Bill 1014 fortunately remains in committee. The bill creates a new law aimed directly at California gun owners. The bill requires police to proactively confiscate firearms and hold them for 1 year with no due process. This process is started solely on an accusation made by an immediate family member, a member of law enforcement, or any health professional. Now that's really important, any health professional. A person filing the complaint only has to believe, and I'm going to quote this to you from the law, he has to believe that the gun owner possesses a significant risk of personal injury to himself, herself, or to another by having under his or her custody and control, owning, purchasing, possessing, or receiving a firearm. Close quote. You realize one crazy anti-gun doctor could declare all California gun owners mentally unfit? He needs no evidence. There's no trial court. The accusation is enough to have the police remove the firearms.
What is it? The French "J'ai accuse" from the Dreyfus case. I accuse.
Yeah.
So is every vindictive divorce attorney. Yep.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that that's going to pass as written?
The Democrats control both the Senate and Assembly in the California legislature. I see no reason that Governor Brown would veto it.
And if they held supermajorities?
They used to. We've put a couple of the Senate into jail recently, but I don't think they were actually removed from their seat.
Good old Leland.
Yeah.
One thing about this, I'm wondering myself, what is a health professional? Are we talking doctor? Are we talking
chiropractor?
RN? Yeah, are we talking chiropractor, RN, maybe nurse's assistant?
Podiatrist.
I was going to say CNA.
Yeah, CNA. Somebody who doesn't have a high school diploma but hung around work long enough that they got They got a certified nursing assistant sticker. Can they make a
How about
statement?
an EMT? Are you a health professional?
Well, when I still had my certification, I considered myself that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
do you remember a couple weeks ago we were an organization compared California's mental health treatment to other states, and the
Yep.
California got an F. They're not doing any better this week.
No.
No.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to our gun quotes section then. And this one, the American Revolution was a beginning, not a consummation. And that was said by President Woodrow Wilson. Hang on, everybody. We've got Frank Fiamingo and Kathy Jackson interviews coming up right after this. Do we want to do your live promo?
Is there another spot for it later on?
Yeah, we can do it
Or is
whenever
it-
you want, man.
Okay. Just do it later.
Okay.
I haven't thought of what I want to do yet.
Okay.
Now I have to get my mind going around it. Somebody send us an email or a YouTube quote. What do you want me to put on sale this week? Audience watching YouTube. How many people have we got on YouTube? Does anybody know?
Directly watching on YouTube, we have 6, but that doesn't include people watching on politicsandguns.com/live or people watching on Google+.
All right, Google+, YouTube, and politicsandguns.live. Somebody send an email and let me know what it is that you are interested in buying this week, and maybe I'll put it on sale for you. How's that for a deal?
Okay. We'll see what happens. We
There you
got 25 minutes before we have to shut the broadcast down. Because I've got to call Kathy at 8 o'clock.
Okay. Shall I jump in?
I'm still saving. Just a second.
I got 22 or 3 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get it done.
Oh, my computer is throwing me a fit. It's going to be just a minute.
Anybody heard anything more from the ladies for the gun concealed carry and ladies gun class for the 26th? Anybody heard anything?
Nope.
I have not either.
I'm not.
They're not returning her calls?
No.
Wow.
Okay, ready, Frank. Frank. Jeez, Rob. I'm sorry. Rob, do you want to bring us in?
He's got a beach house. I don't know whether I should be insulted or pleased. Your will.
Susan says yes.
I didn't hear, Paul.
Susan says, should you be insulted or pleased? Yes.
Yes. Okay. One of those. 5. Hi, and welcome back. This is our DGU segment. To start off, 2 young men walked into Marlene's jewelry store in Fresno, California. The 2 men took their time, looked at display cases, and slowly moved toward the cash register at the back of the store. That's where one of the thieves pulled out a gun and pointed it at the store employees, demanding cash and jewelry. Seconds later, the store owner came around the back corner, pointed his shotgun at the 2 thieves. The unarmed thief yelled, "Shoot them!" as he dropped to the floor and then crawled and ran toward the front door. But the armed thief turned and followed his cowardly compatriot. Both young thieves were well recorded on video and are very lucky to be alive.
I would really encourage anybody that can get to the show notes to go look at the show notes, click the link, and watch that video. It is humorous. Those guys, I think, left a liquid trail behind them as they left the store.
If it weren't so lethal, it would be humorous.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, our next DGU, thieves tried to steal a vehicle parked in front of a home in Wasilla, Alaska. When they failed, they tried to force their way inside the home through the kitchen door. The 65-year-old homeowner called 911 and then fired a single shot. She missed, but the criminals turned and ran. They were long gone by the time state troopers arrived. Citizens are the first responders, either as witnesses or as victims.
You know, if the homeowner was just a few years older, I might have guessed it was my first cousin Ginny, who actually does live in Wasilla.
How cool!
Yeah.
Yeah, in Alaska. We've got some listeners up in Alaska. It's not a very highly populated state, but we've got listeners that are up there, and I would say Alaska is one of the most free states in all ways, in all forms of freedom in the United States. If it weren't so darn cold, I would consider moving up there.
Or as my cousin will send me pictures of moose in her backyard.
Yeah.
So, well, the next DGU is from Washington State, and I'd have to say this man is my hero. A Centralia, Washington man and his girlfriend were sitting in their living room when a homeless 43-year-old stranger entered their home armed with a knife. The homeowner grabbed a shotgun and ordered the intruder out of the house. They both walked outside, but instead of leaving, the intruder pushed the homeowner down a flight of stairs on the back porch. The intruder then grabbed a machete sitting on the porch and approached the homeowner. Rather than shooting his attacker, the homeowner hit him with the butt of his shotgun, putting him on the ground and holding him there until the police arrived. The homeowner preserved the life of a drug-addled man. Sheriff Steve Mansfield said, quote unquote, "This is another example of why citizens need to take all possible precautions and be prepared if something like this occurs." I mean, I'm not sure if I would have had that much restraint after being pushed down the stairs, because you're going to be at least dazed.
I pretty much know I wouldn't have. I pretty much, when I was reading this, I was thinking, yeah, it wouldn't have got. I wouldn't have been one following him out the door, and if he were to get close enough, I mean, this guy was armed with a knife. With the training I've been through, 21 feet, if they're got a drawn knife and they're it's gonna be an issue. So yeah, this guy, it wouldn't have turned out that way with me. So I'm not saying what he did was wrong. I'm just saying it wouldn't turn out the same way if I were in his shoes.
Well, it sounds like the homeowner had, if you will, some sympathy for this guy who was drugged up and confused. It also appears that the homeowner may have put himself at risk to save this intruder's life.
Yeah.
Well, he might have, but the nice thing about it is choice. You know, whether or not you're armed or not armed is a choice. And if you're armed, whether or not you pull is a choice.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Bless him for his. Well, that's why he's John's hero. John, your hero has some competition, because here's mine. My hero is Orlandis Brown. Now, Orlandis suffers from cerebral palsy and needs a wheelchair to get around. Orlandis came home Thursday morning in the company of his friend Letitia Vernon and Letitia's 17-year-old daughter. That's when he discovered that someone was already inside his Easley, South Carolina home, and that the intruder was robbing the place. The thief was armed, but so was Orlandis. Letitia and her daughter fled the home, and they called 911. Deputies moved the women a safe distance away, and then they entered the home a few minutes later. They found 33-year-old Orlandis wounded from a single gunshot wound, and they also found the intruder, 26-year-old Darian Lowe, dead from multiple gunshot wounds. Orlandis was transported by ambulance to the local hospital where he underwent surgery and is expected to make a full recovery. Police believe Orlandis may have been targeted because he's disabled, and the dead intruder thought he was an easy target.
You know, I know Easley. It's just across the border from me.
Yeah.
I spent a week there in work a number of years ago. All I got to say is this thief thought wrong.
Yeah. I don't know if it's run or not, but I know in the current series of Kathy Jackson's Corner Cat Quick Tips, there is a tip about disabled people and firearms and training, and
Hmm.
she strongly encourages them to get training in there. No matter your disability, unless you are paralyzed from the neck down, there is a way there are steps you can take to defend yourself. But even if you're paralyzed from the neck down, you may not be able to use a firearm, but you can be safer by taking some precautions that may not be thought about. And so, yeah, if you're disabled, I absolutely agree. Get a firearm if you can use one and get some training.
It's
It's like,
interesting too. Sorry, John. Go ahead.
I was going to say, this makes me think of my friend Kurt Hoffman, who's the St. Louis gun rights examiner.
Yep.
And Kurt's in a wheelchair, and that, more than anything else, is what spurred him to become a gun rights activist, because under Illinois law, he could not carry concealed at the time. He had virtually no way of protecting himself.
A lot of disabled people are targeted by criminals way disproportionately. They're looked on as easy marks.
Yeah.
With just this week, as a matter of fact, I got store to share. Obviously, because of the type of store we have a fairly large clientele of disabled people.
Now, why is that, Gary?
Because we're dealing, it's a vet store, so we have a tremendous amount of veterans that shop.
The customer. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, we probably proportionately, I would guess, out of all the stores in the city, probably have a larger percentage of injured veterans, from all ages that regularly visit our store. So we have a lot of wheelchair folks that come in. And most of them do carry, and most of them have got special rigs set up, or they come in here and we help them set up rigs. Just this week, I spent an hour and a half with a guy setting up a rig for him to be able to use from his wheelchair because the rig somebody else had set up with him was too difficult for him to get to. And I thought it was interesting because when he came in, he said, "Gary, it's taken me 2.5 seconds to draw my gun, and that's 1.5 seconds longer. Can we work on this?" That was interesting.
I like his attitude.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, he's a good customer. I like him.
And I'm glad that you worked with him, and I appreciate that.
Well, we do take time to do those. That any little mom and pop store, that's what makes a difference, because you're never going to necessarily have exactly everything Sears and Roebuck or J.C. Penney's going to have, but we are lucky enough to have truly the world's best customers. That you can't. No store in the nation would you find a better set of customers than the ones we have coming through the door. So they're a joy to work with.
Great.
Well, this next story, and there is no way to pretty this one up, and no reason to. Gun control kills. 2 armed teenagers shot a couple as they walked on the sidewalk of Newark, New Jersey. The murderers told the couple to kneel. They shot 17-year-old Cheyenne Bond in the head, execution style. Her boyfriend survived. The money Bond's family had set aside for the teenager's tuition at nursing school will now go towards her funeral. The crime rate in New Jersey has exploded since gun prohibition was enacted in the late 1960s. Now longtime politician and anti-gun Newark Mayor Ras Baraka has the murder rate he worked for. And then we have a graph on the show notes that show the New Jersey violent crime rates by year. And in 1960, it was tiny, and you can see it. It's gone down. Well, everywhere in the nation, it's gone down since the early 90s, but it's nowhere near what it was in the 1960s, and it's approaching that in a lot of the rest of the nation.
I'd say, I'm looking at this chart, New Jersey is about 3 times more violent now than it was in 1960.
Yep.
We're probably a stable or even a declining population.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have links to each of our news and defensive gun use articles at politesocietypodcast.com. And we would hope that you would share them with a friend.
Well, let's go ahead and step aside here. When we come back, We've got email and show close, so hang on, everybody. Right back right after this.
Yeah, Miguel says basic edge tools like multi-use machetes, hatchets, knives, combos.
Good idea. I most certainly.
Miguel also says no warning period. If you don't have a dog in the next 5 days, you can come up on your ground. All right.
Oh, Miguel, you're going to have a hard time doing that, man, because I wear. Unless you can make it into my bedroom, it's on my body.
Miguel's on Facebook?
He's on the live page. Just as I want to pod Susan's microphone up here just a second. Susan, could you repeat that, please? Get close to the mic, though.
Miguel says we should not allow ourselves a mourning period for our dog.
Oh, hang on. Restart. I'm sorry.
Are you ready now? Are you sure?
Yes,
okay.
We're good.
Miguel says we shouldn't allow ourselves a mourning period for the dog. We should just jump right back in because, we're so used to that love, and so we should just do that. So he sent Paul a message via the live page that says if Paul does not have a dog in the next 5 days, he's going to come up and pee all over his guns.
Oh!
And he's going to bring a bucket.
Miguel, like I said, man, I carry.
He also says he heard that.
There we go. Tell you what, man, Miguel, I will almost guarantee it's not going to be this week. My heart hurts. My heart hurts bad. I can almost guarantee we're not getting a dog this week. But I would bet by Gun Rights Policy Conference.
Yeah.
So I would imagine by then probably. And Miguel, I expect to see you up there, man. Chicago, end of September. I know at least 2 of us from the show are going to be there. I hope John will make it.
I'm going to try.
Hey, Paul, did you see it was a clever YouTube bit where they have this dog and they've put words in his mouth as he moves, and he goes, you just left. He goes, yeah, well, I think I've got you a cat at the ASPC. It's a humane society or a shelter ad.
Okay.
And the guy's telling his dog that he got him a cat, and the dog's all, really? Where? It's just terminally cute. I'll see if I can find it. Share it with you.
Yeah, cats. I'm not at all.
No, it's the dog talking about getting another pet in the house.
Yeah.
Just to defend cats, I have 2 dogs and 2 cats, and I got to tell you, Hurricane, and the adorable Cloudy are 2 of my favorite pastimes. I love my Hurricane.
Okay, now I got to call out, and we got to wrap this up because we got 7 minutes before we have to call Kathy. But I got to call out our good friend Miguel, who says he's not going to be at GRPC.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Miggy.
Yeah. I'll have
Miguel,
to drink.
you will be missed.
I'll have to drink the adult beverage I was going to buy him myself. Gary, let's do this.
Want to do it after Kathy? Slide it in there?
We can, but it won't go out on YouTube right now.
YouTube people, just send me an email. Tell me what you want. I'll cut you a deal.
All right.
That's easy, folks.
All right. Let's go ahead and try for the close then. And I don't have any emails other than I want to thank people that have been sending us links for news stories that we've covered on the last episode.
Let me. I got one, but I chose not to use it. Let me acknowledge it.
Okay. Why don't you bring us in then?
Hi, and welcome back. This is our show close and email discussion section. I want to thank some of the people that sent me in some of, I think it was a DGU and a gun rights link. I chose not to use it not everything in the news are examples I want to bring in front of our listeners. I appreciate you guys, though, having my back. If there's an article I miss, please keep it up.
Cool deal. I would also like, yeah, we get a lot of email giving us show links for stories for the show, and I really do. I mean, we don't acknowledge them on the air. We do read the stories, and most of the stories do make the show. I do want to thank everybody that does that. It's really cool because, like we said before, man, it feels like the listeners have our back, that they help us do show research. So I want to also encourage everybody to download our apps. They are out for both the Android and on the iTunes. iTunes is called Podcast Box. On Amazon for Android, it's the Polite Society Podcast app. The links are in our show notes if you want to pick up our app.
Also, please check out Kathy Jackson's Cornered Cat training classes. Her next class that still has seats available is next weekend, July 12th and 13th in Walla Walla, Washington. Go to corneredcat.com for more classes and details.
I think you'll be interested in the Shooters Club by Bob Main and Ben Branham. For $75 a year or $6.25 a month, you get 24/7 access to some fantastic training and audio podcasts that you can't get anywhere else. Subscribing from the link in our show notes helps Bob and Ben, and it also helps us here at the Polite Society Podcast.
Well, that does wrap up another episode of the Polite Society Podcast. Until the midweek show, everybody.
Stay safe.
Be aware.
And we'll see you down the road. Okay, I will be calling you guys. I don't know how the hell we're going to do this.
Yeah, we'll just do it on Skype.
Yeah, but I might have to do some rearranging of my audio setup here because
I can record her.
I can record it. It's just calling her and then calling you guys at the same time on the phone. You know what? Let me think on it for a minute. I'm going to try getting her on the phone and then connecting with you guys. So before I stop the broadcast, I want to thank our sponsors, of course, ABN Army Surplus. I want to thank Concealment Solutions, Crusader Weaponry, NJ2S, and Firearm Safety Institute. And remember, you can all listen to us every week live, and we'll be back next weekend. So live from here from ABN, and we'll be talking to you then. Thanks everybody for watching us live.